Maker of songs that heal, maker of hope in his heart, that I know that this world cannot steal. Maker of those who rise, who get to work despite all that they're feeling inside, who remind us of blessings still to be found. Maker of stars that light up the night, that keep shining despite all the odds. Maker of eyes that still look to the hills, that find hope in the moments of God. Ozi bezimratia, vayehili lishua. Ozi bezimratia, vayehili lishua. Maker of changing tides, maker of every wave we ride. Oh, we ebb and we flow, but we grow through the highs and the lows. Maker of friends who smile, who walk with you beyond all of the miles of hurt and of Adonai Eloheinu, Averachaman, Rachem Aleinu, Vekaber, Berachamim, Uveratzon, Et Tefilateinu, Ki Ata Shomea. Tefilot kopeh min hametzar karatia anani namerhavya min hametzar karatia anani b'merhavya. Vayecherad kol ha'am. Vayecherad kol ha'am min hametzar karatia anani b'merhavya min hametzar karatia anani b'merhavya. B'merhavya. Min hametzar, 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 min hametzar.
I know we're still finding our seats, and that is wonderful. But we have made it to... It's honestly really nice when we can't quiet you down. Like, it's really a pleasure. Seriously, like, it means it loves that you're talking to each other. It's great. It's great.
It is the best problem.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, is my mic on? Yes. It is. It is. We have made it to the first Shabbat of August, which is always sort of a bittersweet time, I think, for me. I grew up in the summers going to URJ Eisner Camp, and there was a big cornfield outside of camp, and when we would show up at the end of June, the stalks would be like really, really low. And then starting in August, you'd start to see them like peer over the fence. And you knew that like it was gonna come to an end. You know, like you knew summer was still here, we still had a few weeks left, and it was just starting to get a little darker at night. It was starting to get, well, not a little cooler, but a little darker at night, and you could start to feel a little bit of that anxiety of like, oh, but I wanted to do so much more. I wanted to go to the beach so much more. I wanted to go to the pool so much more. I wanted to see so many more people. And so for this Shabbat of August, we take a moment to take a deep breath, to realize that whatever it is that we've done or whatever it is we're gonna do, we've done it, or we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be okay. And for this evening, we get to be in community for rest and for sacredness and for holiness and for joy, and perhaps for some of us for mourning, to be able to be here together in this moment. And so one more time, if you didn't hear me earlier, or if you're just joining us over in our live stream, I'm Rabbi Eliana Fischel. I'm joined on the bima by Cantor Susan Bortnick and Cantor Suzanne Hamstra. And we are also joined, thank God, by Seth Keibel on, what do you got today? Clarinet and flute. Pretty awesome. I love it. And we are joined by all of you. And so it used to be a tradition at 2239 that you would, if you were new, you'd have to stand up and like say who you are and where you're from. We've gotten too big, guys. We've gotten too big. So here's what we're going to do. If this is your first time at Washington Hebrew, I want you to raise your hand. Your first time Washington Hebrew, your first time at 2239. Everyone whose hand, yeah, the little one in the back. Everyone who's not raising your hand, look at whose hands are raised.
Keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up. That's who you're gonna go say hello to later after services, okay? Those are the people that you have to look out for. And you might not know some of the people near you, so what I would love for you to do is, now that you've gotten all situated and I got you almost quiet, I want you to turn to someone, ideally that you don't know. Maybe that means you even have to get up out of your seat. Share your name, share where you're from. Oh, hold on. And share one thing from this week that was totally awesome. And by awesome, I mean full of awe. One thing from this week that was full of awe. Go. Do you have anything awesome this week?
It'll be easy.
Nothing awesome? Come on, Seth. Be here. Yeah. Duh.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
It is very clear you want to use your voices tonight to come together in community and in prayer, and so we turn to page 12 and lift up our voices in song. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai, L'chunu Ranana.
Adonai,
continue at the bottom of page 13. Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Rejoice the heavens and the earth. Thank God it's Shabbat. Yismechu hashamayim.
20 and 21, we find Lecha Dodi, our sort of centerpiece of Kabbalat Shabbat. And at its heart, Lecha Dodi is about Shabbat, but it's a song of welcome, right? We welcome the Shabbat bride into our midst. And as I'm looking around here, there are a lot of people who have chosen to welcome people to Washington Hebrew this evening, to 2239 this evening. I'm seeing actually a lot of parents of people who have now called Washington Hebrew their home, who have brought their parents here this evening, and other family members as well, whether it be for a wedding blessing or just to come celebrate Shabbat. And so as we join together in these words of welcome, we welcome all aspects of your family and all aspects of the people you find important into our Washington Hebrew family. Page 20 and 21, Lecha Dodi. We turn to page 22. Tzaddik katamar yifrach, may the righteous bloom like a date palm.
Tzaddik katamar yifrach, ke'erez balvanon yizkeh, shetulim enit Adonai, levatot Eloheinu yafrichu, od Elul Meseva, Neshenim
And we turn to page 28 and rise for our call to worship, our prayer of coming together. Baruch Hu.
We'll join together in a prayer for creation on the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
And we join together in our prayer of love, God's abundant love and eternal love for us on page 32.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah We continue chanting Ve'ahavta on page 36.
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
And we continue on page 40 with our prayer of freedom, Mi Chamocha. Becomes a reality around us. As we look out the windows, and as Rabbi Fischel said, as the summer continues on, it gets darker a little bit earlier with each night. And we can already see that it's a little darker now, maybe a little cooler, which is good. Definitely a little darker. We are reminded that it is in those evening hours, when it becomes dark around us, that it becomes harder to stay in control and harder to manage everything that may be weighing upon us. And our tradition gives us a wonderful prayer that we insert into the evening. And this prayer is only in the evening service, and it asks for just a little extra protection, for God to give us a sukkah of peace, so that in those hours when we feel more vulnerable, we have these words to rely upon. And so we turn to 42 for Hashkivenu.
Amen.
since it's Shabbat, we get an extra prayer before we rise for our Amidah. This prayer needs no introduction. You will find it on page 42. 44. 42 would have been a shock.
Intro to the Amidah, like there's no segue. Like we're going to do the Amidah. We're going to turn to page 46, and we're going to do the first three blessings of the Amidah together out loud, and then we're going to immediately transition into our own silent prayer. Perhaps that is the prayer of the page, from page, whenever we stop,
46.
to page 56, I believe. 57, 62, 60. I'll just keep saying numbers.
62.
To page 60. Or perhaps it's the prayer in your own heart, whatever it is that happened this week, whatever it is that you need to say to God this week, whatever it is that you need to say to yourself this week, whatever that might be. We'll take some time to say that and to be there and to be present for that. And whenever you're done with your own personal prayer, you can feel free to be seated. And so we'll rise as we turn to page 46.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftahu fi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasei Avot v'Imachot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai,
מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. ניחמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
this evening this room has been filled with joy and psalms of celebration for Shabbat, there is also perhaps a little tension, some anxiety, especially as the war escalates in Israel and in Gaza. And particularly this week, we are thinking of those families affected, those 12 families and more affected by the attack in the Druze village in the Golan that killed 12 children. And we are also thinking of all of those who have suffered and died in this war, both in Israel and in Gaza. And so we turn to page 259 for our prayer for the state of Israel, praying for the safety of Israel, its neighbors, and for the deliberation and clear choices of its government. Avinu Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Go'alo, together in the English. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen. And as we think of the hurt and the suffering in the Middle East, we also know that there is hurt in our own community. And so if there is someone that you are thinking of this evening in need of healing, whether of mind or of body, I'll ask in just a moment that you share their names. Washington Hebrew thinks particularly of Reese Balamasi, Natan Ben Esther, Norma Fetter, Roberta Galler, Gabrielle Grunau, Howard Clow, Roberta Krasner, Judy Oppenheim, Malka Batsara, Edna Searles, Betsy Small, and Joe Millstone. If you have a name to add to this list, someone that you are thinking of in need of healing, please share their name as my hand comes around the room. Together in these words of strength, these words of blessing and healing on page 253, Mishaberach.
Yeah.
This is usually the moment in our service when we ask to share some simchas, joys that have happened in your life from the last time you were here until now. But as we've mentioned a few times this evening, we have two really major simchas to share this evening. And so if you have not as major a simcha as you're getting married in the next few weeks, but you have a simcha that's very important, we still want to hear it at Oneg. The person next to you wants to hear it at Oneg. But for this evening, instead of our sharing of simchas together, we are going to call up Jen and Ben, as well as Alana and Greg, so that we can provide a blessing for this community for their upcoming weddings. Hi, come on here. So I get to talk to you guys first. Jen and Ben, first of all, I love your celebrity names here. It is so fitting that we are doing this wedding blessing for you this evening when you met at a Metro Minion in 2019. And so, yeah, we will take all the credit for bringing the two of you together. But while I love a meet cute, it has been honestly more rewarding to watch the two of you grow into this relationship, to watch the two of you be surrounded by this community, by watching the two of you create and help create this community, watching the good you do. You look out into the world and you want to make it better, and you look out into the world and want to figure out how to bring more people in. And we are so excited to see what type of life you create by doing that. And so I'm going to offer you a particular blessing for the two of you. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors, may the one who blessed marriages for thousands and thousands of generations, bless Jen and Ben with a marriage of love and a joy, with a marriage full of many more Metro Minions, a marriage of community, a marriage in which you feel unbelievably supported, not just by each other, but by the people with which you surround yourself, and by a marriage in which you bring this love out into the world in order to create more good and to fix this world that so much needs fixing. We say together, Amen.
Amen. And Alana and Greg, you have been waiting and waiting and planning. But the most telling thing about the two of you standing here today is that so much of your family is here, whether they live locally or far away, even though it's still 3 weeks till the wedding, right? They're going away, they're coming back, and they're, coming again, right? Because you are people who value family above anything else. You work hard, you live with a lot of dedication to what you care about. You live for your dog, as you should. But really, you live for your family. And what a blessing that we, by proxy, get to be part of your family. And we get to see you bring two families together with so much love and so much joy. And so, Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless you, Greg and Alana, with a marriage full of joy, a marriage full of love, a marriage surrounded by family, a marriage where you build a home together and a life together that allows you to bring all these dreams to life that you carry so close to your hearts. And we say together,
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So we have gifts and then one more blessing for you guys. So we, in here is a mezuzah for each of your homes. And we hope that your Washington Hebrew family, that you're reminded of your Washington Hebrew family every time that you grace your home, and that you feel the love and the protection of this community every time you go home. And finally, we're going to wrap these talises around you.
I know it's a little warm, and here's another layer.
It is a little warm. We're going to give you a little extra. A talis is a ritual garment that we wear to show love, to show our love for God and God's love for us. And so in this moment, you are literally wrapped in love. May you continue to be wrapped in love today and tomorrow and Sunday and 3 weeks from now, but also months and months and years from now, may you continue to feel wrapped in love. And so we offer you this blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine divine light upon you and be gracious to you. May God turn towards you and grant you peace. And we say together,
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Simen
Tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, and simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, and simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, and simen tov.
Making a big fuss over you right now, just wait until your wedding days.
That's right.
Oh, such a pleasure.
If you need a clarinetist, I know one. He's got a really good one. He did mine 20 years ago.
That's one of the best parts of this job.
It is. It's so lovely.
That and baby naming.
Yeah, right?
It's really hard to follow that. Beyonce and the United States gymnast team has given me a lot of feelings this week. So I don't know if you saw the video ad that Beyonce created in order to support our American team.
Yeah.
But it's this awesome, empowering, somehow tear-jerking, I don't really know why I was crying, but I was, watching her narrate how awesome it is to be Team USA while watching mainly the US gymnast team do the things that make them so awesome. And the beginning of the video, she opens it by saying, I cannot do her narration voice, it's amazing, so you're just gonna get my voice. She says, get a look at America, y'all. These hopes and dreams, these superstars that represent us, the people of this big, bold, beautiful, complicated nation. Big, bold, beautiful, complicated nation. Big, bold, and beautiful, we get a lot. Most often, people don't state the complicated part. And she said it, you could kind of tell, she said it with a smirk, but also she said it in celebration, as if it was just as cool that America was big and bold as it was that we are complicated, as if it's awesome that we are complicated. I don't know if it was shocking to you, but it got me, it surprised me, and I kind of loved it. Which is weird, because we as humans, we don't like complicated, right? We don't really lift up complicated. We don't really celebrate complicated. In fact, our brains do a really good job of seeing things and uncomplicating them, right? Instead of seeing a head and arms and legs and a body, we see a human, right? Our minds literally do this for us so that we know how the world is, so that we don't have to spend so much time trying to figure things out. But sometimes we make it too easy. Sometimes we simplify too far, and it gets us into trouble. And we come by this honestly, because not just us do it, but in this week's Torah portion, Moses and God do it. So in this week's Torah portion, the Israelites are right at the cusp of the promised land. They have gone through the wilderness. We're at the end of the book of Numbers, and they see the promised land in front of them. And Moses is telling them, the tribes, what part of the land is going to be theirs. So this is the moment. They're psyched, right? You get this, and you get this, and you get this. When suddenly, two of the tribes, the Gadites and the Reubenites, make a wild assertion to Moses. They turn to Moses and say, we have a lot of cattle. And actually, this land that we're in right now, on this side of the Jordan, not in the promised land, this land is really good for cattle. Can we stay here? Can we stay here? Now, as a reader of this in the 21st century, I read this and I am dismayed, mainly because, like, who are these non-perfectionists? Like, they spent 40 years wandering the desert to get to the promised land, and then they're just going to settle for the land on the other side of the river. Like, that's going to be good enough for them? Crazy to me. My critique of them is highly limited compared to what Moses and God say. Moses gets really angry and provides a "how dare you" critique. How dare you, Gadites and Reubenites, say this? Because your brethren are going to go out into the promised land and fight for their land, and you're not going to fight with them? What kind of family are you? What kind of community are you? You're just going to stay here and sit and not fight with them? How dare you? And the Gadites and Reubenites can't even respond because right as Moses ends, God picks up and has an even harder critique, saying, not just how dare you, but don't you see what I've done for you? God says, I took you out of Egypt, and then I suffered while your ancestors continued to bicker and moan in the desert. And then God goes as far as to say, I should have killed them then, if this is what you're going to say to us. Those are some harsh words. Those are some harsh words. The Gadites and the Reubenites, to their credit, remain pretty calm and say, no, I think you misheard me. We're going to still go into the promised land. We're going to fight with our community. We're going to make sure that they get their land. We're even going to make sure that they've settled in their land. And when they're fully settled, when they're good, when our community is good, when we've done our responsibility, then please let us come back to this side of the Jordan where we're more comfortable. Can't we hold both? Can't we be both? Can't we be good community members? Can't we be good Israelites and still have what we need and still be honored with the fact that we value this part of the land? God and Moses jumped to conclusions. They heard one thing and simplified what they heard into a label, right? That they're going to say this thing, and therefore these people are now traitors. These people are now another. These people are now different from us. Versus hearing what they actually said, which is, this land's pretty good for cattle. Right? Like, that's what they said. This land is good for cattle. Right? But what they hear is, we reject you and reject everything you stand for. They simplify it to that. And of course they do, because God and Moses are feeling pretty unsafe in that moment. And particularly when we feel unsafe, it's quick for us to label and to oversimplify. For the past few months, we as a Jewish community and a Jewish adjacent community have felt pretty unsafe. We have felt really unsafe. And it is very easy for us to other people outside of our community. But what has been sort of hardest to grapple with is the amount of othering that has happened within our community. The amount of times I've heard or hear of people labeling or oversimplifying point of views that end up being really extreme and really drastic or really generalized. So I'm going to say some generalizations that I have been hearing, some simplifications that I have been hearing that are going to make you maybe uncomfortable to hear. I tried to be even-keeled with my uncomfort, as in, like, I hope to make you all uncomfortable. Right? So we have heard things like, all anti-Zionists are self-hating Jews. That's quite the simplification. We have heard things like, all Zionists are racist. Quite the simplification. We've heard things like, all millennials hate Israel. Quite the simplification. We've heard things like, all Gen Xers or boomers love Israel no matter what, live or die, they're going to be with Israel. Quite the simplification. And when we do that, when we say things like that, when we hear things like that, it's very easy for us to begin to separate, for begin to see even people that we identify with as another, as separate from us, as different from us, and we alienate each other. And when we do that, when we label each other, when we oversimplify each other, we do exactly what God and Moses did, which is we don't hear what we're actually saying. We don't hear a group of Jews say, no, we really care about humanitarian issues. And this seems to really go against our humanitarian issues. We want to lift that up. We don't hear Jews when they say, no, we know what it's like to feel really unsafe, physically unsafe where we live, and we need Israel as a safety net. We need Israel as a home. We don't hear Jews when they say, no, I love this country, but I am struggling with the humanitarian issues there, and I don't know where that leaves me. We don't hear institutions when we have a sign outside that says, we support Israel in its struggle for peace and democracy, as saying, we support Israel in its struggle for peace and democracy. We see it only as we support Israel, not all throughout, as opposed to seeing the nuance there of saying we love this country and we want to work to see it be better, to see it be the amazing country we want it to be. We miss the nuance. We miss the complicatedness when we oversimplify and when we label. And in so doing, we miss each other. Make it a little bit lighter for a second here. After the US team won the all-around, sports writer Emily Bix wrote about the team. What I loved about watching Simone Biles, Rebecca Andrade, and Suni Lee dominate the all-around final was how they cheered for one another. Women supporting women while competing at the highest level, using their rivalry to push themselves, and as a result, propel their sport to a new level. Their rivalry propelled their sport to a new level. Can you imagine, just imagine what our community would be like if our differences, if our disagreements, if our complications allowed us to propel ourselves to a new level? Because the questions that each of these groups of Jews are bringing up are questions we need to handle, questions with which we need to grapple. We need to grapple with a humanitarian crisis. We need to grapple with the safety issues, the unsafety that we're feeling as Jews in America and as Jews in this world. We need to grapple with this real big conflict of loving a country and maybe disagreeing with it. We need to grapple with these things, and the more that we're othering each other, the less we can actually strengthen each other and our points of view. It doesn't mean we have to agree, but rather that iron sharpens iron, that we actually make ourselves better, make ourselves more clear when we engage with one another. At the end of a book of Torah, we say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek, strength, strength, and we will be strengthened. I feel like our ancestors knew that there might be disagreement amongst Jews at some point in their lives. And so they put in these two strengths, Chazak, Chazak, as if to say, my strength is different from your strength, but we have to have our strengths together in order to v'nit chazek, in order to be strong together. Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek, that my values might be different from your values, but we better come together to v'nit chazek, to make our values and our community and our society stronger. And so we do our best to celebrate our complicatedness, to lift up our disagreements and our issues, and to actually turn towards one another in those moments when we want to label and we want to simplify. We celebrate the complicated. Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek.
and turn to page 282 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. We now come to a moment of memory. In times of joy, when we come together in celebration, we think of those we wish were with us. We think of those who have brightened our days in the past, who have enhanced our life and our love, and made us our best selves. And so tonight we think of Edward A. Aronson, Bernard A. Bayer, Lillian S. Bennett, Herman S. Bloomberg, Francis Brody, Helen Levy Brislavsky, Abe L. Cohen, Jerome Cohen, Sarah Cohen, Selma Breslav Cohen, William Cohenheim, Samuel Dulkin, Alexander Charles M. Selim, Barney R. Furson, Irene Fine, Julius Meyer Fogelman, Adelaide H. Friedlander, Herbert Friedlander, Jack Friedlander, Sylvia Friedlander, Walter Fromm, Harold Frost, Melvin Gelman, Jack Gennison, Janet Goldberg and Albert Goldberg, Rose Lack Hamovit, Manya Hausman, Isaac Heidenheimer, Margaret Herman, Becky Hirsch, Vivian Eisenbert, Maurice Janoff, Margaret Rose Kaminsky, Lizzie Kaufman, Cora Lee Kaufman, Ray Knopfer, Sarah Kohler, David Cohn Sr., Annie Kuhmerker, William Landis, Astrid Langer, Hannah Landsberg, Sylvia Lean, Emil Levy, James A. Livingston, Lillian Livingston, Helene Barrand Lockwood, Kenneth Joseph Lux, Sylvan J. Lux, Camille L. Lyon, Marjorie Hausman Lyon, Stanley Mayer, Esther Motzman, Milton Nathan, Thomas Lee Nordlinger, Theodore Howard Orleans, Helene B. Pizer, Irene Polin, Sylvan Powdermaker, Irving Sager, Samuel H. Scheide, Rosalie Schneider, Blanche Schwartz, James H. Simon, Milton A. Simon, Joseph Strasburger, David Strauss, Ralph J. Tizer, Sarah H. Verstein, Helena G. Warfield, Stephen L. Wyman, Lindsay Eliza Weiner, Jillian Rose Weiner, Rena Frank Wolfsheimer, Zach Ziffer, Bernard Wachtel. And we remember those recently laid to rest: Herbert Abloh, Barbara Asher, Alan Weintraub, Phyllis Belford, Seymour H. Amkraut, and Louise Orenberg. If I have inadvertently mispronounced the name of your loved one, or if you have a name to add to our memorial this evening, I ask that you please do so as my eyes meet yours.
Raphael ben Ephraim Baptista.
For all of these names that we've shared aloud and for all of the names we hold up in our hearts, we rise as one community and join together on page 294 with Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almayah, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, za'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing now and always. Please be seated.
Our pleasure to call up Lori Weiss from our board of directors to share in a few announcements.
Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Now, those of you who know me know that that's not good enough. Let's try again. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Oh, yes, that was awesome. Well, I know quite a few of you, and I met some more tonight, but in case I haven't met you, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lori Wise, and it's a privilege to serve on the Temple's Board of Directors. We have some wonderful opportunities to engage with Washington Hebrew and the community in the next few weeks. Washington Hebrew's 2239 group will be having a mimosa minyan that will take place on August 24th following morning Shabbat service. It will be held at Temple in the Freed Youth Wing over there.
But you come to the service first. That's the minyan part.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave that out.
Yeah.
I just want them to know where to find their mimosas.
Perfect.
Okay. The next Shabbat 2239 Metro Minyan will be held on December 6, 2024 at the DC JCC. While things slow down a little bit at Washington Hebrew during the summer months, be sure to continue to check out our website for upcoming events. Please take a copy of this week, and inside, for those that you don't know, there's a little QR code at the bottom. Now, if anybody doesn't know how to use a QR code, I always offer Oneg tutorials. Some of you may not know, but I'm happy to. There's no shame in not knowing what to do with a QR code. You'll be delighted to see all the information and how easy it is. Every Shabbat, we increase our joy by reciting Kiddush. This is a moment when we remember the miracle of the Exodus and celebrate our freedom. At Washington Hebrew Congregation, we also use this moment in our service to remember Cammie Lauren Nathanson and the power each person has to make an impact in our community and to change the world for the better. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And so we invite up all of our young people, anyone under the age of B'nai Mitzvah, come on up and join us for Kiddush, especially the birthday
There's a
girl,
birthday
Sonia
girl
Diamond.
coming. Birthday girl, come on over.
Hey.
You get to
there
hold
go.
the actual Kiddush cup. How's that?
You get the big
There
one.
you go.
There was we usually get to do
Mickey.
simchas, and Sonia didn't
Here,
get
come
to
to the
share
front,
that her
come to the front
birthday
with
is
your sister.
tomorrow.
Come all the way to the front. Come all the way to the front.
All right, let's all
We're
gather
gonna
together
let her
up
hold
close.
the Kiddush cup.
You can get in there next to your sister.
Yep, come on
Yeah.
up, come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up. All right, are we ready? We're gonna help Sonia and all the kids. Page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kosho v'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher yetziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat koshecha be'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchatanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. All right, drink up.
L'chaim.
Drink up, drink up. All right.
I have a
nice
very
job.
important
You don't have to
question
drink the
for
whole thing.
you.
It's okay.
How old are you turning tomorrow? Turning
9.
9.
Oh, yay! All right. Come on over here, both of you.
Come on over,
Okay,
come on
you
over.
can just put the plastic
You
cups
can
down
stack
there.
them right there. You want to put it right in
Perfect. All right, the 4 of you get to hold this.
there? Good job, Maya.
Everybody get a hand on. Not the challah itself, just the platter.
Are
Can you get in there? Can you get in there? Make your way.
All right.
Get a hand up, or you can stand under
Or
it,
we can
whatever you
come
want.
on.
All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Mickey, would you quick hand that to Dan, please?
You stay there.
Oh,
It's easier
and-
for me.
oh, fair enough.
Last but
Thank you.
certainly not least, we take an opportunity on Shabbat to bless our next generation, to bless our children. So we're going to bless these children that are here. If your children are with you, maybe you want to put your hand on them. If your children are not here, maybe you want to put your hand on your heart. And
Even if your
we-
children are grown, you can still reach out to them and bless
Exactly.
them.
And
if you're a child and you don't have children, you can think of your parents. Why not?
exactly. And so we bless you with these words. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God shine divine light upon you and be good to you.
Ken yehi ratzon. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may God not only be kind and good to you, but also give you the greatest gift, which is the gift of peace, and also help you to bring peace to this world. And we say
Amen.
together, Amen.
Amen.
Ken yehi
Amen.
ratzon.
Ken yehi ratzon.
Go get a nice big kiss from a family member.
Yours is up here. Mine needs some help. And as we prepare for our closing song, a few direction things for after services. Everyone is invited for Oneg outside in our lobby. If you're here for Metro Minyan, our dinner is going to be in Edlovich Hall, which is the social hall right next to the lobby. And if you are new to Metro Minyan, and you're like, I would really love someone to sit with, Andrew Abramowitz right here is going to be standing in this atrium right outside the doors, and he's going to be waiting for you. He wants to sit with you. So if you are new and would like to sit at a newcomer's table, find Andrew. And I think that's it.
That's it. Our concluding song is going to be the chorus of Chazak. So be strong, let us strengthen one another. Be strong, let us celebrate our lives. Be strong, let us celebrate one another. Here we go. Strengthen one another. Be strong, let us celebrate.
Lovely to be with you guys.
Adonai Eloheinu, Averachama.